Yeah, so I'm going to show you kind of Web3, how you can browse it and stuff, and then we're going to walk through CryptoKitties a little bit as a use case. What does that mean? It's just it's a game, but I want to show you the collectibles, how it works, how the smart contracts interact with each other. We're going to use that for probably the next hour. A few examples we can go through the smart contracts, get through interactions. But then for the second half, we can probably use QA, ask me any questions you want. I want to make it a little bit dynamic. Any questions you want, because it's elastic with me. So you can ask me anything you want in terms of investments, in terms of how you value these chains, how different tokens can get value, whatever you want to ask. Cool. So in order to start, go to metamask.io. Just download this extension. Once you do, you have something like this. I need to create a new one because I lost it still. It asks you if you want to create a new wallet when you install MetaMask, or you want to import one. So if you have the yesterday one, you can just import that, or you can just create a new wallet. I'm going to create a new one because I lost the yesterday one. Cool. So here we go. So we got MetaMask installed. So now let's go to CryptoKitties. We go CryptoKitties here. Like that. Let me see my screen. Okay. Start. It says, hey, can you ask to connect to your wallet? Say yes. Just put something there. Testing. Basically, by this, it's you kind of identifying you kind of own that wallet. So you say, yeah, sign it, sign the signature. There you go. So it loads. Okay. And then we go to Etherscan. Okay, so let me walk you through it. So, do you know how the CryptoKitties work? It's basically is a marketplace that you can bid for kitties, right? But the kitties, it's there's a concept that we briefly talked about yesterday. Here, I love my charts. Me understanding this. So the way that, you know, there's a lot of tokens, you know, we talked about yesterday, is that this is, think of it as Ethereum. And then there's a lot of tokens that we talked about, storage or computational, are built on top of Ethereum. They create their own token, and they have a common interface, which is called ERC20, right? So this ERC20, all the tokens out there, is basically a set of functions that you need to follow, right? You know, how many balances, you know, what's the total number of tokens, you know, how you can deposit. There's a bunch of functions you need to follow. So then you kind of become an ERC20. CryptoKitties is another standard, which is a non-fungible token, okay? And basically it says that each non-fungible token has a bunch of properties, right? You know, it's the color of, you know, let's go here, in this case, like, okay, this is unique, right? So it's only this cat with these properties, right? And I can own it. What does that mean? That means that I will have a full custody of it. That hash, the unique hash, represent this cat. And then the cats can breed, you know, they have a mother and father, you know, can have different kids, different kind of kitties. But the reason you can see these fathers and grandparents and children is all these blocks, right? It's all kind of linked together. You can see them in here. You can see that there's a function that renders that hash and gives you this picture. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see this picture, right? But all the logic are kind of built into the smart contract, this contract, right? If you read a contract, so this is the contract. Let's see the code. There you go. If you read this, you can see all the functionality of it. Okay, well, how you can breed, you know, what's the properties of it. So when we talked about a smart contract yesterday, this is a smart contract. And this is sitting on the nodes on a network by miners. And as soon as it's been called, when you read it, it activates, it works. The company, CryptoKitties, you know, is run by a local company actually. It's a company called Axiom Zen. It's kind of separate out to Dapper Labs now. They wrote this software, and in order to get revenue out of it, they have a transaction fee. So every time a kitty is born, or when you do an auction, a fee goes to the smart contract, which owns by the company, right? But everything else is open source. So then they don't have like a locked in software. You can see everything, you can copy it. Actually, there's a lot of copycats out there. There's a lot of Asian sites, there's a lot of European sites copied it. But this is the main one you can see. The most expensive cat actually was sold $150,000 last year. So someone paid $150,000 for one of these cats. But you know what people say is stupid or whatever, but you know, in the real world, you have collectibles. People collect a lot of things. People collect stamps. People collect Porsche cars. They collect everything, right? Why? Well, because there are finite numbers. There's a fixed supply, and then some people value. Maybe I don't care about stamps, but some people do care about stamps. Like people exchange stickers. But the stickers, in apps or when you use messaging or WhatsApp, or you can just copy paste. But this only you owning one of these cats. So then some other person say, hey, you know what? I value this cat. I want to buy it from you because it was born on a Chinese year in 2010, 2014, and it becomes valuable over time. So this is a concept. So now you can apply this non-fungible token to anything out there, right? You can think of as a house as a non-fungible token, right? You can represent ownership of the house as an NFT, right? So that's a very strong concept which hasn't really expanded yet, but I can see a lot more companies kind of building on top of NFTs. In order to interact with this site, again, you need to have Web3. Web3 is basically means you need to have a wallet to interact with it, right? Once you load up your wallet, I don't think CryptoKitties has a test net, but if you have Ether here, you can kind of bid on it and then wait your win and then withdraw to your own wallet, and that's the concept. Any questions in terms of how this smart contract works and how bidding works and anything like that? Or shall I go to the next one? I want to show you something that there's a multiple transactions. If you can find one here. Yeah, so this is just an example I want to show you. So this token, that specific CryptoKitty, you can see the movement of it, right? And then just think of it as, now let's translate to real estate, right? Now if you buy a house or something, it's really hard to track it. You have to pay a huge license fee to the government or some private agency to see the previous histories of the house, right? You can see the owners. But if you think about it, we can move the ownership of the properties or anything, the car or anything, to the blockchain. It would be as easy as this. You can see the price was required, when it happened, the properties of it, the owners of it. So what I can imagine is 2019, 2020, we can see a lot of assets get tokenized, and that's what they meant. This tokenizing asset, that means you can move the ownership of it. Obviously you can't move the house in the blockchain, but you can say, hey, 101 Ali owns it, and from down you can see history of it, and that would unlock a lot of value in the ecosystem. That's what one of the things is. You see this address 00, that's a Genesis block. That means that when the CryptoKitty was born, so that was the first time it was created. And then from then on, and obviously they moved around and did a bunch of stuff.
So the auction system it's a smart contract. People send Ether to the smart contract, and then is there a set period of time that whoever sends the most gets it?
Yeah, it's called Dodge reverse auction. So actually, I don't know where it is. So it starts very expensive and it goes cheaper. But if there is a demand, obviously everyone bids at the highest because they want to win, right? But if you're what do you call it? If you're patient, you can get it cheaper, but most people don't, so they want to get it. But you are bidding on a smart contract, right? The interesting thing is, so the site, the CryptoKitty site, it runs by Axiom Zen, right? So this is Central's website, but the software behind it is the smart contract. So after the bidding is done, then it hits the smart contract. So there is a centralized on top of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not through the smart contracts that the bidding happens.
No, I think the bidding happens through the site, but the execution, settlement happens on the smart contract.
Okay.
Yeah. But by the way, there are different versions of decentralized CryptoKitties, like not CryptoKitties, but just again a clone version of it. And there's a lot of different games now. So now, for example, you can buy hats for your CryptoKitty. You can buy bow tie for CryptoKitty. It's like an adds-on of CryptoKitties. Just think about it again, you're building personalities. The interesting is we had this concept. Have you guys played Second Life? It was way many years ago. It was a virtual life, but it was huge millions of dollars actually was spent on that. People bought lands, Farmville. There was a Farmville, people bought lands and everything. But those are again, they didn't own them. It was owned by the company. But now this concept is just blowing up. There is a company called decentralized or something. I think decentralized. That means you can actually buy land now, but you own that land, right? You know, it's a non-fungible token that you can own. So again, it's very powerful, and I think
Decentralized.
that's the one. Yes, that's the one. So again, people spending millions of dollars buying those lands, but it's very different to what we had before.
And it's amazing that that token is like actually the only token that has not gone down in Ethereum value like over the last year.
Yeah, it's a lot of demand.
That's a very like it's a big exception because most of the tokens went sank.
Absolutely.
Like it went down in dollar value, but not in Ethereum. It went up all the time. So yeah, there you have it.
Yeah, huge value. So why? I think like non-fungible token is very interesting. There's another thing to it, right? So we all play games, and we just played FIFA. So when you buy games, right, you get a bunch of in-app purchases, right? You can buy guns, or you can buy a house, or you can, boost up your players with different T-shirts or whatever, right? But when you upgrade your game, you cannot take those collectibles, those in-app purchases to another game, right? Everything wipes, and you have to buy it again, right? So there's a lot of work being done that you can transfer these assets. When you buy a sword now in the game, you own that sword. You can move it to any game as long as obviously game supports it. So if the game supports NFTs, then when you own the sword, that sword works in everywhere. You don't need to keep buying the sword. There's a huge marketplace now in every game. So people they work hours and hours and say, hey, you know what? I'm willing to sell my character or a bunch of stuff. So now we can see gaming companies working towards this and supporting non-fungible tokens or variations of non-fungible tokens, right? So I think in the future, again, when you're playing your games, you can own the assets in a game, and even if you upgrade to FIFA 2020 or FIFA 2030, you can move the assets you own from previous games to that game, or even cross games. Need for Speed. If you increase, if you get a new car, you can move the car to different games. So that opens up a lot of opportunities again in the game industry. One other thing I want to show you is Decentralized Exchange. How that works, and if you talked about it yesterday in terms of front running and how those are actually work. Yeah.
I've got another issue. When you say fungible and non-fungible tokens, what exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, so
really clear.
Yeah, so fungible, like when I have 20. Let's say, I don't know, a token, right? Let's say, so we say ERC20, right? Which is a fungible on Ethereum, right? And an example that we talked about yesterday was CVC, 4KYC, that we talked about. 10 CVC, it's exactly to another 10 CVC, right? Another token. They're like exactly the same. Mm-hmm. There's no difference. But non-fungible token is each of them are unique. So one CryptoKitty, it's not equal to another CryptoKitty.
I see.
They're completely different. They have different characteristics. They follow ERC 721, which is a standard for it. So all of them follow the same standard, but each token is very different to another token. Whereas ERC20 tokens, if I give you so if I give you like $1 is exactly like another dollar, right? But the CryptoKitty is not the same. Each one is very unique. It's valued differently. $1 is valued exactly $1. How do you say it? To another $1, right? But one CryptoKitty is not valued the same as another CryptoKitty, based on the demand, based on the characteristics of it. That's what was it.
Can I say
Yeah, absolutely.
because they all follow the same standard, you can write a program that will allow you to trade your collectibles, and that program will work with all of them. So you could trade your crypto zombies or your crypto kitties on your same program outside of crypto zombies website or crypto kitties website.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is why I think it opens up huge opportunities, because if you want to trade stamps, it's really rare to find those markets. You need to have a market to be able to trade, right? But this is a digital non-fungible tokens. So there is digital marketplaces for it. You can see the order books, you can see demands, you can see a lot of things on that, which there's money moving to the space. One other thing I want to show you is, let me show you what. Just ask for it. Okay, so one other thing I want to show you is a project called 0x protocol. So 0x arc. And then you can go to 0x tracker. So we briefly, chatted about exchanges yesterday, right? And this is decentralized exchange. So whatever you've seen on centralized exchanges, 0x enables you to be able to trade on a decentralized way. So 0x is actually a protocol. We talked about protocol yesterday. So it allows you to settle. So this company, it's just a bunch of, think of it as a libraries that allows you to settle. So anyone can build an interface on top of it. You can build an exchange on top of it to sell all your trades. So you can put an order, you can fill that order, you can cancel the order. So they even actually they put something called here we go, launch kit. So you can create your own exchange by just following this guide, and you can have your own exchange because the settlement happens on a blockchain. But what you're doing is matching engine. So think of it as matching engine is offline, but the settlement it's on chain. If you go on a 0x tracker, you can see the top relayers. Relayers are the interfaces built on 0x, right? So you can see router relay is the top one, which is done 150,000 past 24 hours. Then there's a few other ones, right? The way it works is that in order for you to do a trade on 0x, you need to wrap your ETH. Let's say I want to sell my ETH, but because 0x has its own token, which is 0x, you need to wrap your ETH in an ERC20, so become WETH, and then you can trade it. But you can do that on the top of the relayers. There's a huge arbitrage. We spoke briefly again on arbitrage on DEX, because there's big difference on exchanges, the centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges. So you can basically buy and sell in a centralized exchanges and then sell it on a decentralized. But the difference is decentralized has a delay, so you need to figure out a way of how you can arbitrage between centralized exchange and decentralized exchanges. And you can look at everyone's order, you can front run them before they fix it up. There's a few opportunities you can look into that. Have you guys explored with the decentralized exchanges?
Yeah.
No? Have you?
IDEX. IDEX.
Yeah, what do you think of it, and what was the experience on it?
It's not DEX, it's a centralized exchange that says that it's a DEX, but it's not the DEX.
Oh, it's not?
Well, they say that it is, but they all of a sudden say, oh, we'll do KYC. What the heck? You guys are a DEX. We're talking about KYC.
Yeah.
I used BISC.
Okay.
Which is not quite the same.
Yeah,
but
it's very different, yeah.
It tries to do this, but it's harder.
Yeah, why decentralized exchange coming up is because, as you know, a lot of exchanges getting hacked. So people are less comfortable with decentralized exchanges. Obviously, like, you know, they have to provide customer service and everything. But with the decentralized exchange, you own your keys. So when I want to use, let's say, Rod Relay in this case, right? I can load up my assets in my wallet, which I own a private key, right? And I can trade them without exposing my private key to exchange. So I'm taking a risk, but obviously that's a risk on my end, right? So because if I own, let's say, $5 or $10 million, I need to make sure my computer is safe, my private key is safe. So even the concept is, hey, it's secure, but people are hesitant to use DEX sometimes, and that's why you don't see that much volume. The most volume you see around is around 2-3 million or like 4 million a day. That's a max. Whereas on the other hand, exchanges are seeing like 2 billion a day. Like Binance sees $1 billion a night. So there's a cycle coin. If you go there, you go to exchanges. Here we go. The first exchange had $1.8 billion in the past 24 hours trading volume. So whereas decentralized exchanges only see, again, like maximum $3-4 million. So there's a big difference. But you're taking a risk of exposing your assets to the exchanges if you use them, because they can get hacked. There's a concept of decentralized finance, right? Which is, I'm personally very excited about, and a lot of people in the space is working, and I actually think the whole value of blockchain for the next few years is going to be on decentralized finance. That means a lot of financial products is going to get decentralized. What does that mean? Creating a loan, creating a packages like shorting, long, all these things can be built on that without going through bank accounts. You know, when you're using bank account, there's a lot of fees being attached to it. You know, when you want to send a wire, there's a SWIFT wire, there's a SWIFT cost, you know, checking account costs money, there's a lot of things. You can build everything you want on a blockchain, and there's so many people doing it. So as I said, the settlement is done by 0x, right? There's another called DYDX, which is providing margin trading. So you can do margin trading and derivatives on top of 0x. They can expand to different chains, but they're building on this. Every financial product that you think about Wall Street, they're building on top of blockchain without any middleman. So the value is that there is no middleman, and the code is open source. You can see everyone's code. You can see there is no backdoor. There is no hidden fees. The fees attached is normally the transaction fees and nothing else.
And it was amazing that this DYDX thingy, they didn't do an ICO. Like, I actually remember about a year they launched or something like that, and people in their Slack were asking, well, what is the ICO?
Yeah.
But like, I remember they had like 1 or 2 developers only. Like,
yeah.
That wasn't a big team, and they said, no, we just...
Yeah, they didn't raise any ICO, and they actually went a traditional way. They raised money from venture capital, around I think 10 and then raised another 10 million. Yeah. Because ICO's problem was, as I said yesterday, it became really scammy, and you didn't know what to trust. And then SEC in America went to sue a lot of companies because they said the token was securities. Securities means that if I sell you something in the promise of you profit, I have to get a license from the regulators to sell you that. And a lot of companies went and sold their tokens in the promise of people can profit without getting a license. So then SEC went to a lot of companies, could put some people in jail. So then people were really worried about doing ICO. Some people went abroad and did it in Cayman or offshore jurisdictions. So nowadays most people are comfortable with doing a traditional way, like doing the equity or kind of doing a convertible note, a bit safer than doing ICO. But yeah, these guys are, again, every blockchain company look at it, most of them are around 5 or 10 people, because there's not that many experts, no one is expert because you're just learning as you go. And again, there's very interesting things being built on top of it. I want to show you another interesting thing. Let's go into, I think it's called, So I also am I'm a very data guy, and I'm particularly interested in analytics. Like throughout my life, when I was building products and I founded a company, even when we make investments, the only thing I care about is numbers. And what I love about blockchain is that you can see everything, right? As I said, you can see number of transactions. Think of it as like, someone build a consumer product, right? And say, hey, I have X amount of users, right? They normally show you Mixpanel or Google Analytics to show you the numbers, right? Retention or churn, like how people come back or how people stop using it. But these data are sitting on a blockchain as a raw. Anyone can look at it. But the problem is making sense of it. How can you package it? How can you visualize it? So there's few sites now coming up, and actually a few of them getting funded to display this data. So this is this guy I actually spoke to him a couple times. He's in South Africa, the guy who built this. He built a side project. I don't think he's focusing on it anymore. And you go there, and he built an interface on tracking this smart contract. These are live data. So if you go on CryptoKitties, there's a few ones I can walk you through it. You can see what's happening live on the chain. You can see the number of birth. I think there's a timeline. Yeah, like let's say 30 days. This is number of new birth. You can see sales to action, how many successful auctions happen. You can see, how many auctions per day, who are the most traded kitties are, who the owners are, how much money was spent, how much gas was spent. So these are like amazing information. And imagine our financials could be like that. And like you want to see everybody else financial, but you can see the ledger like that. Again, a real estate like that. So that's why I'm really excited. And the 2008 crisis happened because we had a lot of securities packages that were just not valued correctly, or they were like they were saying X amount of dollars was on the table, but it was actually way less than that on the table, right? With this, you can make people reliable on that.
For this site here, there was a few different, so he's looking at a bunch of different projects here.
Yeah.
So that meant that he had to actually build out each one individually. They're all, because CryptoKitties, you're following, I'm guessing, like certain types of events, like in that system.
Exactly.
But there's different events somewhere else. So they got put a lot of work into this.
It did. So good point. So so
that's really cool.
So like each of these chains have specific events, right? So what you need to do is you need to go Ether scan, right? You go here, you go to CryptoKitties, and then you go read contract. So what you need to basically parse this. You need to parse this. You need to figure out different events it has. I think, let me find it really right now. It's a doctrine code. Here we go. See this? You can see all the events attached to it, to that smart contract. And this CryptoKitty has a lot of different contracts, for example, right? So you need to parse this, save it, and then every time a new transaction go through the block, you say, okay, which event happens? And that's his done.
Cool.
So again, so these are not like hidden. You can find it, but obviously it takes some time to parse it and kind of clear it up, normalize it. And then he's done it for another one. Again, it's called Augur. he's done for a few ones. He's done for Augur. Augur is a prediction market. So, are you guys familiar with Augur? No. So Augur it's one of the most well-known projects in space. Everyone is following it. So one of the one of the cases that people you think about blockchain is for prediction market, right? Prediction market is that, let's say, we predict who's going to be the next president of the United States, right? Donald Trump or, I don't know, Hillary, if he comes back again.
Hillary back too.
Yeah. the problem with the central side is that you don't know if they are tweaking with your votes, right? You can't trust the source code, right? They don't know if they're adding more votes. So with the decentralized, you can see clearly who's voting, and then you can count it. Or if you can bet on things that is against the law, like, I mean, it doesn't sound right, but it's called, what's it called? Association, association betting. It's like
assassination.
That's the one. Yeah, if someone's gonna die or not. It's illegal, but it happens. So Augur is prediction market. So you can go in Augur blockchain. Yeah, anyone can create a market. You go there.
This is on mainnet now, I think. Right?
It's live. Yeah, it went live. So anyone can create a market. So I can just create a market and say, hey, you're gonna win. Oh wow, that's the first thing came up. So I can make a market that says, I don't know. You're gonna have the high score in the class, right? At the end of it, right? And then people can vote for it. So people can create markets. It's interesting because when it started, no one knew about it, right? But you can see that the number of markets are grown over the past, I don't know, whatever it came up, let's say 30 days. I think it shows, so it had a peak and it went down, but if you look at the total, it's actually is up to the right, it's actually growing. So people start using decentralized prediction markets now, people creating markets, people bid on it, and people winning real money again. So I can say, hey, I think Donald Trump gonna win, but I have nothing to lose. I don't have skin in the game. But the good thing about Augur is that I actually have to put money in the game. Like I put like $100 or $1,000. And if I put money on the table, that means I'm willing to, lose that money if I'm wrong. And yeah, you can see a lot of, why does that allow me to click on that? I have to read it? Here we go. So how much? $281 ETH being put on it. Which one? How much is that? 281 multiplied by 150. It's like 42,000. It's been sitting on this now. 150, 40 is getting peach. So again, it's a fascinating thing. Go ahead, play with it. You can create your own markets. You can ask people to bid on it. The interesting thing is, again, it's open source. You can even read the code, you can fork it. By forking, that means that you can actually copy the code, make your own version of it, or you can make proposal to it. And that's the beauty of the space. So one interesting thing is, again, if you are planning to make an analytics product, please talk to me, because I'm realizing there's a lot of things you can do in the space by building products like this. You can see orders filled, markets, there's like 2,000 markets being created. There's like different version of representing it. There's another one, Supermax, I think it's called .cool. Yeah, they renamed it to Scout.cool. Yeah, so providing insight of blockchain, right? Like look at LiveBeer. LiveBeer is another project which is decentralized for decoding videos. The idea is that decoding, it takes a lot of process, right? And there's, as I mentioned, so there's a lot of idle computers in the world. So how about you outsource your decoding to everyone's, right? And people who are giving their laptops or the computers, they will earn their token, LPT token, right? I can see since they went live, there's a lot of activities happening, and people want to earn LPT. You can you can convert the LPT to US dollar, or you can spend LPT in the system to decode your videos. There's a lot of ways, but again, in order to get a sense of the health of the system, the best way is look at the growth of these chains rather than just speculating. You can actually see how many people doing it. One other thing I want to say, by the way, good point, is why I want to use Analytics, or people like me to use Analytics, because ERC20 has a function called transfer. called transfer, right? What is a transfer? Every time you trade, this function is being called. right? If I transfer a token from myself to you, this is called, right? You can see like there's a lot of transaction going in the blockchain, right? But probably 99% of it is a transfer function. If you filter out other function, you can see the retention. Okay, how are people actually using Augur? Are they just transferring Augur token to each other? Or, I don't know the name of the function, but are they calling auction? Or are they calling on a bid? Whatever they're calling, right? If they are calling those functions, that means they're actually using a product. So they're not, speculating. That's a retention of the product. That's when you know the health of the system. That's when you know the ecosystem is growing, rather than just people speculating and trading to each other, sending tokens to each other. Any questions? Okay, I want to give you another concept. Again, I think they're not going to touch you, so I'll give you a little overview. Stable coins. Do you guys know what stable coin is? Yeah, so stable coin is basically like in order to create a stable coin, there's 3 ways of doing it, right? You have 101, which is I have $5 and I'm going to create 5 tokens, which represents that $5, right? So it's 101. I have $5 in a bank account, I create 5 tokens. If you want to redeem, I burn 1 token and I give you $1, right? Another one is automatic central banking. So that means that the way the central bank works is based on printing money and shrinking money, right? So it's called elasticity, I think, in terms of I forgot the name. Basically, it's like the government sell bonds and then close the bonds back and then give people's money, and that's an automatic way of it. You can do it in a smart contract. The company was building on it. It's called Basis, but then after the raise, I think it's Basis.io. Yeah. Unfortunately, after raising $150 million last year, they shut down, but they returned the money to everyone. They realized that the idea cannot be implemented because of regulatory reasons. The SEC kind of said it's a security, and if it's a security, then normal people cannot hold it. Only accredited investor with more than $1 million can have a security. So that's why I decided to do it. Another way of doing it which is getting a lot of momentum, is Make or Die. I highly suggest everyone to study this. The way is collateralized on crypto. So it's over collateralized. If it has 2 tokens, it has Maker and it has Die. I need to deposit, let's say they only support ETH. I can deposit 150 ETH. It's 150% over collateralized. 150 to get $100. So I have to collateralize 150 worth of dollars to get $100 DAI. So DAI is a stable one, so it's always valued as a 1, and Maker is a governance one. What does a governance mean? All these protocols that we talked about is being developed by developers, right? So developers coding it, but there are users and there's miners. When there's a new program, when there's a new software, because everyone upgrades, then people need to vote. Hey, do we agree with this Augur or not? That's the whole thing about economy and about game theory we talked about. Maybe developers want to add a feature that users do not want it. Say, hey, with their Maker, with the tokens they hold, they say, no, we don't want this upgrade. So it doesn't go through or get canceled, or they vote for different upgrades or different path. But that's very interesting because Maker DAI tools, if you look at it, I think it has 2% of the total ETH locked up. So people have to lock their ETH to get DAI, right? The stable dollar. And now 2% of total ETH has been there. So yes, let me find it. Die. So $91 million worth, or $90 million dies being issued. So 150% of that is being locked up. 1.5% of that, 1.5 times of that is being locked up by people. Why people want DAI? Well, because there's a huge friction for me to convert to US dollar, right? I have to go to the bank, I have to use the exchange, I have to fee. People want to DAI maybe to do e-commerce. There's a lot of sites start accepting DAI or stable currencies. So you use DAI. Or, you want to get a digital loan. So, you give DAI to them and then they give you a loan. There's a lot of different ways. So this is what I mean by new financial. Because there's a lot of different ways of thinking about how you can create money online. Any questions?
It basically means that it's a loan that I get. Like I lock up a bunch of ETH and I get a loan from them that I would need to repay.
Exactly. Then in order to get your ETH, which you locked up. So, by the way, when we say locked up, you're not sending it to someone's bank account, right? It's a smart contract. So, smart contract, you send your ETH, you get locked up. If you want to get your ETH back, so you can see it sits there, you have to send back the DAI, they burn the DAI and they give you ETH back. And you pay interest. How the platform gets money, again, the foundation that runs this, is pays interest. You're paying interest on the time that you lock up your ETH. But it's very small.
But the thing is that like if the price of ETH is like 900 and then it all of a sudden goes to 100, then what happens then?
Very good point. So
the game change.
Exactly. So as soon as the price that's why it's 150%, because if it drops, it automatically liquidate your collateralized. So they sell it to pay off your debt. Or if you want to keep that, you can top it up. If you see the ETH is dropping, you can top it up your asset. So it always has to be 150% or 1.5 times. So then you can add more ETH if the price is going down. Or the smart contract automatically sells your asset to pay your debt.
It's like the equivalent of a margin call.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have finance.
Yeah.
On like what exchange does it know to sell the ether? Like how does it get the current rate?
Got it. So there's another concept called Oracle. So Oracle is interesting concept. Do you guys know what Oracle is?
No.
Okay, so Oracle blockchain are think of as islands. It's silos. There is no information going into it. Everything is in there, right? So in here, no, where was it? In here, right? Will Donald Trump be reelected, right? Let's say the question was, who was the president of the United States on, 2016? Was it 2016? Yeah, and how would the blockchain, the smart contract, would know the answer? Like, it wouldn't know. Like, it's a raw data from outside world, right? I could say it was Hillary, you could say it was Trump, right? Then it's kind of we go to the centralized process again, right? So Alder came with a better solution of people voting with their tokens to say what the real answer is. MakerDAI currently relies on the central process. So they rely on the feed of the I don't know which exchange they use, they probably use one exchange or index of exchanges to say, hey, this is the price. But they are going towards of decentralized data. And that's another theme in a blockchain is like, again, if you want to make everything decentralized, extremely hard, right? You can make the blockchain decentralized, but feeding the data is currently very centralized, right? So now we're working on how to decentralize this. MakerDAI is starting as a centralized company now. They're providing the prices. I don't know which exchange they use to liquidate. They probably use a bunch of decentralized exchanges. But over time, they're planning of making that feeding the prices decentralized too by using a maker token. As a governance, as a person who you can vote, you can do that. Yeah. Any questions? Cool. It's 7, so let's take a break.